What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we have an extremely special guest. He's Mississippi born, South Georgia raised, currently residing in Lawrence, Kansas. He is one of my favorite podcasts, the Lack of Institutional Control podcast. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to them. Great college football content. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the abstract in the building. What's good, brother?
What's going on, my man? Thank you for having me on. Been a long time lurker when I was on Twitter before Elon took over and messed up the whole algorithm and everything. But you're doing good things, man. I'm subscribed to all three of your podcasts. I don't understand how you had as much time during the week to do all of these things, but I commend you for your efforts.
I greatly appreciate that, man. One fan a day. So, first off, I'm going to get into the Lack of Institutional Control podcast. How did you get involved with that?
Not to be sounding like a super militant or anything, but one day, because everybody used to be on SOHH, and then like everybody migrated over to the Collie or whatever, and so like I started this thread. It was like, in the next iteration of the takeover is we start a podcast network, which nobody was a part of. So fast forward like 4 or 5 years later, shout out to my homeboy Kenny, but somehow, some way, we were able to sneak into the Alabama-Florida State game, the first college football game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Wow.
We actually snuck in with Justin Fields and his family through the players exit, because we had gave like we gave one of the ticket guys like $150 to get in. So he was like, yeah, man, he's like, just walk in when I walk them in, and then just like you can just like float around the stadium. I'm like, all right, cool. So I had been like a long time listener to like college football podcasts, and the one thing, matter of fact, I'll sum it up with this. So I was listening when I was a Florida State fan. I was listening to this one podcast that was like Florida State centric, and I just didn't like the tone that he was taking, talking about players. And he was like, you get these players that jump on social media and they say these things. If it wasn't for Florida State, these kids wouldn't even be in school. And I was like, like strange, like you don't say those type of things towards like Christian Ponder or Kyler Hall or those type of players, but
yeah,
Emike Olugwe, you want to say that we giving you didn't earn this, we giving it to you. I'm like, no, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm listening to them and like listen to like these guys on like the Solid Verbal. I'm like, hey, I'm like, nobody's giving this from like an African American perspective, and we make up a majority of the sport. Like, so like, I hate when people talk about like let's like try to do like barbershop talk. Like some things that you talk about in a barbershop really don't need to be talked about. But we took that like element and we just put it on the podcast. And like Sherm said when he had jumped on, one of the original three wasn't able to jump on, and I just put it out there in the thread. I'm like, yo, anybody want to jump on? And he jumped on, and like it's like he like the man on the couch on half baked. Like, man, like, yo, you gotta start paying some rent around here. And that's how it all came about. So 3 brothers from the South, 1 from the Chi, talking about college football, and we try to talk about it in an educated way, but sometimes we slip. But we'll be back together sometime during the season, because I know I've been busy with school, been busy with this move and everything. Life has hit me hard in like the last 6 months. So, but we'll be back up starting probably next month.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. I know y'all dropped an episode, I think maybe 2-3 weeks ago, might have been.
Right.
Yeah, and I still got to go back and listen to that. But when I saw it pop up in my Spotify queue, I was like, oh, here we go. They back.
Oh, we're gonna piss off a lot of people, because I mean, a lot of people have been taking it like from how we talk on the message board and how we talk when we are all on the podcast together, that we got this anti-Deion Sanders agenda. I'm like, it ain't an anti-Deion agenda. It's that some of the things that y'all let Deion get away with, y'all would never let another coach get away with. And it's like certain things, like I remember when, like I said, I used to root for Florida State, and I remember when Willie Taggart got fired, and people were talking about, oh, look at this dummy, he walking around with a whistle like he a Pee Wee League coach. Every time I look up, Deion wore a cowboy hat and a whistle. Everybody talking about that's discipline. I'm like, hold on. So I'm like, so hold on. So like because you like this guy, you willing to let a lot of stuff slide. Or what was the one thing? I like my offensive lineman to come from a two-parent home and my defensive lineman to come from a single-parent home. And
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, like white coach said all the time. I'm like, all right, so y'all was cool with the white coach saying it and didn't say nothing? But when he said and somebody raises a funk about it, it's like, oh, they say it all the time. Okay, well, let's say something when they say it and let's say something when he say it. Because that, in my opinion, honest opinion, that's not cool. Like these kids earn these spots. They putting it all on the line for somebody that's selling them on like, hey, I'm going to mold you from a boy to a man for the next 3 to 4 years. And I feel that like your behavior, not saying you need to like tom it up or whatever, but you just need to like act accordingly. Act like the man that you want your children raised or mentored by.
Salient points, sir. Salient points. Make sure y'all check out the Lack of Institutional Control podcast. Once again, this is on all streaming networks. Great college football content. So now we're going to get into this baseball talk. So what were some of your earliest baseball memories?
My earliest, I try not to get emotional about this one, but one was my guardian angel, my great grandmother. I remember my great grandmother was then she didn't too much care for sports, but anytime that the New York Mets, particularly '86, anytime the Mets that were on TV, like my great grandmother was always sitting there, loved Darryl Strawberry. Like I think she would be, if she was still alive to this day, she would be like really hurt to see the things that Darryl Strawberry went through and dealt with since she was started becoming a fan. Love Doc Gooden. For some reason, had this strange like love hate for like Keith Hernandez.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember what was it when I worked on Fort Leavenworth back in like 2008. Ron Darling's ex-wife worked in the organization that I was in, and
Really?
so yeah,
wow.
So Ron Darling's ex-wife, because I believe their son was like a top quarterback prospect that I think he ended up playing baseball, but I think once his mom, he never made it to the majors, but I think he tried to get back at Auburn or get back at Nebraska because I think he had committed to Nebraska. I want to say around the time that Bo Pelini was like the head coach. So yeah, that woman loved the Mets. But for me, it started with the '88 Oakland A's. Like that was I can still roll off that entire starting line. And I haven't rooted for the A's since like who I hate Jose Rios. Let me put that out there because of the Reds. Jose Rios never pitched like that ever again in his life after they beat the A's. Chris Sabo, I don't even remember Chris Sabo hitting like that after they played the Oakland A's in that World Series. Tom Browning, like all those guys, like I'll give props to Barry Larkin because I support my peeps. But other than that, I was like, I hate the Cincinnati Reds. So yeah, so those were some of my earliest baseball memories.
Man, so was your great grandmother, was she from New York?
No. My great grandmother was born in Mobile, Alabama, and lived in a very, 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 very small town in Arkansas called Arkansas City. Last time I went through, when it's funny when you like a kid and you go somewhere where your people stay in the country and they just let you run amok, like you can run around the whole town, and it feels like the biggest place in the world. And then I go back as an adult, it's like, man, this place got a population of 500 people. It's very small. Like it only take like 30 seconds to get around the whole little area that I was allowed to run around in.
Man,
so yeah, she was like I said, she was born in Alabama, raised in Mississippi, and moved to Arkansas.
So were the Mets just a popular team that they showed on TV at the time?
I really couldn't tell you because I mean, at that time, you had in that part of Mississippi, you had like I still remember, like, man, this really showing my age, but I think me and you in the same age group, bro. I remember the day I came home from school and they were making a big deal that the Cubs were playing under the lights at Wrigley Field.
I remember that too.
On WGN, like Harry Carey made this sound like it was Game 7 of the World Series. So, no, I really can't call it. I don't know, honestly, why she rooted for the Mets. Because, I mean, you had WGN where you could watch the Cubs. had the Superstation where you could watch the Braves, but she gravitated towards the Mets. But she loved Peter. She loved Pete Rose too.
Really?
She loved Pete Rose. Yeah.
Man.
Matter of fact, she never called him Pete Rose. Like, I love Mr. Hustle.
Yep. Charlie Hustle.
Yes, sir.
So how did you become a Royals fan?
Whew, man. I guess I can't say it's like how people become a Jets fan because that misery gets passed down from parent to child. But for me, like I said, I was born in the Mississippi Delta, and so one day, my uncle who used to play on a barnstorming team. Like my uncle Tilton was born in like late 1930s or early 1940s. So like he played on these barnstorming teams in between Memphis and New Orleans, and so they would travel around. And I guess somehow, some way. Oh yeah, because he was born there. Frank White played second base for the Royals. So my uncle owned a gas station, and so one day I just happened to be up there, and next thing you know, we get to talking, and we get to playing catch. And he was like, "You need to play." He's like, "Young man, you need to play baseball." I mean, this is like Royals are coming off to winning the World Series. Like this is '86, so they're coming off winning the World Series. And with that being said, my grandmother was sick at the time, but my uncle took me. This will show you I grew up in a real country ass town in Mississippi. So there was a taxi stand called "Do Bad by Myself" because it was named after like this juke joint song, and it was the "Do Bad by Myself" Pirates. And because I'm well off than like my grandparents and my parents were. So because I couldn't afford a uniform, there was a kid that quit. And his number just so happened to be the number of the man behind you. And the number was 24. So when I moved to Georgia after my grandmother died in '89, I would always wear this "Do Bad by Myself" Pirates jersey. And people was like, "There go Ricky." My name is nowhere close to being Ricky. So yeah, so Frank White, second baseman, Kansas City Royals. Found out he played for the Royals. Ended up liking George Brett just because you could. I'm trying to remember who was the host. Was it This Week in Baseball? Who used to be the host? Something Allen, right?
Was it Dick Allen?
Oh, man, we tanking like hell right now.
Yeah, we are.
But he would be the guy to be like, "How about that?" Like, you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so like I would watch the show, and they would always show George Brett running out at Yankee Stadium about the tar on the bat, and so I was like, "Oh, he played for the Royals too." So I was like, "Yeah, I might as well just root for the Royals."
Dig it, dig it. So, who were some of your favorite Royals players?
Of course, George Brett, Frank White, of course. For the short amount of time that he was there, David Cone. I mean, I like David Cone. Brett Saberhagen, and I think I like Brett Saberhagen the most because he had that funky like delivery, and when you would play RBI baseball, he was distinct. He was like the most distinctive pitcher that was on there because of somehow, some way, and all this pixelation, they were able to get that funky delivery. So like, yeah, him. Zach Greinke became like a favorite player of mine once I moved back here as an adult because I had deployed, came back, was having like some mental health stuff going on. Like wasn't nothing too drastic, but I was just a young man going through a thing, trying to find his way in the world after having my world rock going across the globe to fight in now I can say an unjust war. And so like seeing Zach Greinke win the Cy Young Award, and they was like, "How do you feel?" And he was like, "No, it's all right." Like I kind of related to that. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I rocks with Zach like that. And of course, my man Lo Kane, because he was born in my second hometown of Valdosta, Georgia. So yeah, Lorenzo Kane.
No kidding.
Yep.
Man. So what were some of your favorite moments?
Because even though I wasn't old enough to remember it, I do kind of like rubbing it in the face of like, matter of fact, dude I was talking to today at the VA, Cardinals fan. I was like, hey, like, sorry about '86. Like, it still burns. they still want to jump on the first base umpire. Like it's things that bad. Them winning the World Series, what was that, 2015?
Yep.
Yeah. And that one kind of sucked for me because I was living in Johannesburg at the time. But it was cool to see everybody near like the World War One Memorial and like Union Station, like how crowded it was, and like that's cool. Like people like finally love the Royals again. And then Dayton Moore screwed it all up and did a fire sale like David Sampson did for the Marlins, and just like it's just been downhill since then. Then the fact that they have the nerve to want to like beg like taxpayers now for like $1.2 billion of public money to build a downtown baseball stadium. It's
I
like
heard about that.
that the causation and correlation don't kind of jive here. You're trying to say that if they build you the stadium, that you'll start paying for better players or keeping your good players. I'm like, I mean, the running joke for the longest was that the Kansas City Royals were just a farm team for the New York Yankees, and that's like since like the days of Mickey Mantle. So like, there's some lovable losers. I'm gonna get out to the case once the All-Star break is over too.
Honestly, man, the K, that's honestly my favorite ballpark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that ballpark. I went there in 09 and 2010. Saw them play who did I see them play? Saw them play the Twins in 09 and the Yankees in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, no, I went there before 2009, because I always say I've had the pleasure of getting to meet Mr. Buck O'Neil, but my biggest regret in life is not getting a picture with him.
Same here. So I know it's kind of like dipping into like the favorite non-Royals player, but that man is ingrained into the culture here.
He is,
especially with his work at the Negro League Baseball Museum.
Yep.
Shout out to Mr. Bob Kendrick. Like, yo, if y'all ever come to Kansas City, make sure y'all go to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in the 18th and Vine District. Like, I spent 2 hours there. You can honest to God spend like 6 hours in that joint. Like, it's that much history that's in there, and it really needs to be like. Me personally, I believe that it should be in a. It's cool that they have it in the venue because I mean that was like the. That was like Main Street for Black people in Kansas City back in the day. So it's kind of cool that they keep it in that area. But I wish that they had it in a larger venue and that it actually wasn't shared with like the Jazz Museum. But yeah. I mean, foot traffic is foot traffic, and all foot traffic is good, especially in that area. So, but yeah, me and Mr. O'Neil, like, I met the man twice. I met him twice. One day when I got restationed from Germany to Kansas City, Fort Leavenworth in 05, found the Royals was so bad, it was like pretty much like, yo, if you a military member, you got an active duty military ID, you can get 20 tickets. So it's like, so I would go to like, yeah, I need 15 tickets. So like, I've got shoeboxes with like nothing but like Royals tickets from like 05. So like. So like you see this older Black gentleman, and this was right before he got sick and passed away. Because I want to say Buck passed away in 06, 07, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would see him right at the will call box office, right by when you enter his home plate. And like, yeah, you would look up and like he would shake everybody's hand that would come in that joint.
Yep,
and he would just walk around the concourses and shake people's hands like, hey, you know, we got a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. We love if you come and check it out. Like that man fought for like, and I think one of the few signs of solidarity that I've seen when I lived here earlier was his last year eligibility on the Hall of Fame ballot for the Veterans Committee. And he didn't get in. And I want to say, yeah, Nick Wright was here. So Nick Wright from that's on FS1.
Yeah.
He led the charge. Nick Wright and Jason Whitlock used to have like serious beef, like to the point like I thought that they would throw hands whenever they would see each other. Whitlock, for all the tomfoolery that he's known for, was leading the charge. Anybody that worked at the KC Star, anybody that was on radio, like they was leading this charge, like, hey, like baseball got it wrong this time, which they did, because I mean, nobody, if you letting certain people in for just being a contributor to the game, there's no better person than Mr. Buck O'Neil.
Right.
So yeah, so that was my Buck O'Neil experience.
And I remember trying to think who was on the Royals when I was there in 09 and 2010 thing. Alex Gordon was there at first at third base.
Haas would have been there. Haas would have probably been like a rookie or so. Or going into his second year.
Yep. What's the guy's name?
Jermaine Dye would have been here.
Man, it had Jermaine Dye. It was one point you had Jermaine Dye, Carlos Beltran, and God, I'm trying to remember.
Kohlschaber, Moose, Mike Moustakas.
Mike Moustakas. Yep. And
how can I forget my man Mike Sweeney?
Yes, sir. And my guy was Billy Butler.
Oh.
I used to love watching Billy Butler play. So
I'm trying to remember who was my guy that played pitcher. He died way too early, but he was just known for the
Jose Lima.
That's who Jose Lima. Yeah, Lima time. Yes, sir.
Man, I forgot all about old Lima time.
Hey, there's a story that I can't tell over here where I saw Jose Lima at the Plaza with Warren Moon one night. I want to say, yeah, Tony Gonzalez was there at the same time because he drove this loud yellow Hummer. But yeah, they was kicking it in the Plaza, doing things that athletes in the vein of Tiger Woods would do, minus the Perkins waitresses. So yeah,
mum's the word.
Yes, sir.
So who are some of your favorite non-Royals players?
Like I said, that 88 Oakland A's, matter of fact, that 88 to 90 Oakland A's roster, let me see if I can remember. Terry Steinbach at catcher, Carney Lansford at third, Mike Gallego at second, Walt Weiss at short, Mark McGuire at first, Ricky at left, Dave in center, and Jose in right.
Man, you got it, man.
Starting pitchers, let me see. Rick Honeycutt was middle relief. Dennis Eckersley was the closer. Yeah, Bob Welch.
Bob Welch. Yep.
One of my favorite, who had a 27-6 season that is still unexplainable. It's like the Brady Anderson home run year. It's like you can't explain it. But nah, some of my favorite non-Royals players. Of course, the kid. You can't be a late Gen X kid or early millennial kid and not root for the kid. Griffey Jr. is 90s black baseball culture, in my opinion. 100%. Pedro, Buns, how we were talking about Tony Gwynn. The appreciation for Tony Gwynn came after the fact. It was we in real time, we really slept on Tony Gwynn because it was just Tony Gwynn doing Tony Gwynn things. Yeah. So you had that. My favorite pitcher of all time, and matter of fact, these two players interlock. So I'm reading a Ricky Henderson biography by Howard Bryant right now.
Yeah.
Totally recommend. It's a great read, and I'm halfway through it. But it was talking about how Ricky and Dave Stewart and all of these amazing black players that we know from the 80s and 90s all grew up around each other in the 70s. Went to Oakland Tech, how East Oakland had to get gentrified by black folks, all these different things. And Dave Stewart is my favorite pitcher of all time, just because as much as people talk about the Randy Johnson stare, there's probably nothing scarier than either Bob Gibson stare or Dave Stewart stare.
100%. 100%.
So that's my man, and of course my goat. I know people Barry Bonds is that goat, or you can put if you want these new age baseball players. I don't understand this whole Mike Trout thing. It confuses me, but to me, Ricky Henderson, greatest baseball player that ever lived.
My man,
bar none. Bar none. If not only for his record-breaking speech at Oakland Alameda Stadium with with Lou Brock in tow.
In attendance.
I know
Lou Brock was the symbol for great base stealing. But today, I'm the greatest of all time.
All time.
Thank you.
So yeah, so Ricky Henderson just did I did everything from emulating his batting stance. I was the reverse. Like I said, I wore 24, had a jersey that had Ricky on the back, all by happenstance. But I was like the reverse Ricky. He batted righty through left. I batted left and threw right. I started out playing second base. And they was like, you're a little bit too scared, so we're just gonna hide you in left field. So I would play left field just like Ricky. So yeah, that's my guy. If I had I got a bucket list of players I wish to meet before I meet our demise. Ricky, bar none, number one.
Me too.
Just because I want to hear him talk about Ricky in the third person. I just want to be there.
Yes.
So that's my guy.
Man. All right. So now we're going to get into the 5-question segment of the podcast. So first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4, 100% random. So question number 1, what were the ideal items on abstract school lunch tray?
Ooh. Not to sound out bougie or anything like previous guests, because man, who was my man that was the last guest? My man was talking about the bow ties and the whole.
Oh, and the Eldon Hawks.
The whole shebang bang. Yes, sir.
The Stromboli.
Yes, sir. But nah, my thing when I first moved I went from public school, Mississippi public school in the Delta, where they probably spend more money per student in third world countries than they do in this part of the country. So I went from there to South Georgia, and my aunt, who worked as a nurse, she was like, that's gonna put you in private school. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we brought our own lunch.
Okay.
Mondays, you could either take Burger King or McDonald's. Wednesday was either Taco Bell or KFC.
Wow.
And on Fridays was personal pan day, Pizza Hut.
Damn.
So yeah, your man's was out here living it up. I ain't had to trade nobody no BS to get their fruit cups or nothing. It was to show you that it was a weird time, because these kids won't understand. Growing up in the 90s as a black kid, it just seemed like the world was just all of these things that you heard from your parents and grandparents. What y'all talking about? I only experienced none of this. Then you get older, and then the world show you what they really are. But it was crazy to me that I could this private school I went to, I can to this day I can still name every black kid that went there.
Wow.
But the funny thing about all of that is we were the only kids who constantly didn't have to bring their lunch on Fridays, Wednesdays, and Mondays. We always had the items that was offered. It was always the non-black kids that was man, I wish I could eat pizza. Throw is good. Put some extra butter on the crust right here.
Question number 2. What are your 3 favorite swings from players not named Ken Griffey Jr.?
Oh, that's easy. Too easy. 1, Barry Bonds. I don't think it's a month that goes by I don't look at that home run against Troy Percival in the World Series?
Yeah.
I still don't think that ball was landed in Anaheim yet. A moonshot. So Barry Bonds. I'm gonna go left field on you right here, Mr. Foxworth.
Okay.
Lenny Dykstra.
My man Nails.
It was just the whole gangster lean with the right leg stuck all the way out, and him just lean back, and he would come up and somehow he would hit the ball. I'm how is this even possible? You said I can't say Griffey. Oh man, who would I pick third? Can I do a 3A and a 3B?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one was case in point. So the day I met Mr. O'Neill, Royals was playing the Angels. Vladimir Guerrero, batting practice. I'm man, I've never heard this sound before. It sounds like what was it? Somebody, you seen the video? Somebody threw that M80 in somebody's car.
I did see that. Yeah.
It sounded like that boom. It was like, damn. And 3B until I seen this guy when I was in Ohio back in 2014. Giancarlo Stanton has a swing that when it makes contact, if you're not paying it, no lie, Danny, when he hit this foul ball, I hit the ground like somebody threw a grenade. Because it sounded like the ball was going to come by my ear. Like, that's what him and Guerrero, the only two players I ever seen in person. Sweet swings, but when they made contact with the ball, it made a sound that you don't normally hear in baseball.
Yeah, 100% agree. Vlad Guerrero, to me, one of the best, arguably the best bad pitch hitter I've ever seen.
Didn't the ball bounce in front of him one time?
Dude, the ball would be buried. The ball would be halfway buried in the dirt, and he'll still hit it, smack it for a double.
Right.
And then pull his hamstring running the second.
Right. Oh man, now you got me thinking about batting stance. I'm like, man, I really could say that early '90s Rangers with Julio Franco and Ivan Rodriguez with that batting stance was one that always stuck out. Forgot about John, yeah. Like, how do you? Then you had John Olerud in Toronto. Cecil Fielder's batting stance was always kind of funky to me too, because it was like he was like wiggling all the time. Mark McGuire's stance looked like somebody that like took steroids. So yeah.
Question number 3. What are 3 Kansas City restaurants that you would recommend?
Woo. Considering that COVID did a number on the service industry here, they all gonna have to be barbecue. So shout out to my homeboy Morris. He came out here like I want to say a month ago. Excuse me. So he's like, "Yo, man, where I need to go?" I was like, I can give you a gang of barbecue places. If you want to go to a barbecue place, and as soon as you come in, you're gonna get yelled at. Go to Gates.
Gates.
So you're gonna get yelled at Gates. And let me see. I would always see somebody that would make you do a double take. So let me see. I met the guy who owned the Dude Ranch, the Bunny Ranch in Vegas or in Nevada. Ron Jeremy. I met him at
Gates.
Gates. Yeah, I got a photo, man. I'll shoot it to you on IG. Man, who else did I meet? Magic Don Juan, Bishop Don Juan. Saw him in Gates.
That's wild.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. Who else did I see? Nas and Damian Marley. Saw them back in like 09 when this was right after they had released Distant Relatives.
Yeah.
And they did a concert down in Westport.
Wow.
So Gates, Arthur Bryant's, because it's right over by. If you want the true Arthur Bryant's, then you need to go to the one that's over. I want to say it's over Brooklyn.
Yep, Brooklyn Avenue.
Yeah, so you got that joint, and of course, the best barbecue, like my man Morris said, like, yo, he's like, this is the greatest barbecue I've ever ate in 44 years of my existence, and I just turned 43, which is Q39 on State Line.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them.
Brother, when I tell you they have like this, well, they don't have it anymore, but it's like a corn dog ball, and it has the only place I ever had this sausage that came with like it came with some grits. It was in Charleston, but it's this special sausage that they use, like small little link. I can't remember the name of it, but they wrap it in like a pig's stomach lining. But I know it sounds gross, but within that is the sausage, and I don't know what type of syrup they use, but when you bite into it, you get the syrup, you get the sweetness of the syrup, the punch of that sausage link, and the texture of like that corn dog bread. And I'm telling you, it will change your life.
You said it's Q39?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to write that down. But man, I love Gates BBQ. As soon as you said you're going to get yelled at, I knew immediately what you were talking about. As soon as you walk in the door.
As soon as you come in, what do you want?
Yeah, how may I help you?
Oh, hold on. What time did you go though?
I went at like it was like 11:30 in the afternoon or 11:30 in the morning, I should say.
Oh, you get that late night crew. Slight chance you might get cursed out, but yeah, I got nothing but love for like Gates, man. Like Gates have you feeling good.
I'll tear up that mixed plate, and boy, to this day, the best chili cheese fries I ever had in my life was at Gates BBQ.
What sauce do you get?
God, what sauce did I get? I don't even remember the sauce I got, but all I know is the plate was empty when I was done with it.
It's legitimately one of the experiences of KC where you come and you eat there, and at the end you think you deserve like a smoker's jacket, a plaque, a cigar, a world's greatest dad T-shirt, even if you don't have any kids. Like you're that full. Like that place is that good.
I mean, walk out there smelling like smoke too.
Nowadays, you're gonna have a hint of marijuana that you go when you walk out because it's legal here.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with a little seasoning. I can dig it. Question number 4. What would your walk-up music be if you were a baseball player?
Only because I seen this meme on Instagram the other day. It would be Lil Kim featuring 50 Cent, Magic Stick.
There you go.
Got the Magic Stick. So yeah, so it's either that or it'd be something like something from like that first like DMX album.
Yeah, that's always a go-to there. Can't go wrong with DMX. And question number 5. What was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Oh man. I got like a real like quirky, weirdo sense of humor. But you heard of this guy named Tim Robinson? He got this show on Netflix. Let's see, I can't what's the name of that show? He used to be a writer on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
But oh man, hold on, I gotta I think you should leave now. I think that's the name of it. Man, when I tell you, race aside, the most naturally funny dude ever. Like he reminds me of like every angry white dude I ever worked with when I worked for the Department of Defense or State Department. Like he was like you seen him. He's the dude that's like, you sure about that? Are you sure?
Okay,
about
yeah,
that? He's that guy.
That's him.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Bro, when you get some time, go to YouTube and look up Pay It Forward Tim Robinson.
Okay. If there's anything you want to plug and promote, the floor is officially yours. It's time. If you want to do it, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, shout out to my LOYC fam, Sherm, my man No Sleep, my man PCP. Also, shout out to the homie Mun and the homie Mo on the Beard Always Wins podcast. A little something that I do on the side. I already discussed my beef with you, calling me Wally Pip when the homeboy Drop Top Doc was on here. But I do have some situational questions that I would like to ask you, since you are a vinyl connoisseur and you are heavy into baseball.
Okay.
Matter of fact, what's the runtime? Because I don't want to jam boy you. That's my man.
Go ahead, man. We got time.
Okay. Danny Foxworth, you are the manager of a baseball team. 9th inning. You need to strike out Shohei Ohtani. You can pick from any pitcher from your lifetime in their prime. Who do you pick? Non-Nolan Ryan division.
Non-Nolan Ryan division. To strike out Ohtani. You said this in the 9th inning?
Yep.
Give me PED Eric Gagne.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
This can be a starter. This can be a middle reliever. This can be a closer. You can pick anyone you want.
Okay, when you said 9th inning, I was under the impression that you wanted me to choose a closer.
No closer.
Okay, Greg Maddux.
I was gonna go. I originally thought about going with Greg Maddux, but for whatever reason, because this dude broke my heart back in '91. It's only a few pitching performances I think I've ever seen that's greater than what Jack Morris did in Game 7 of the '91 World Series.
True.
Like that was him and Smokes. Matter of fact, I think both went 10 innings. I think. All right. So bottom of the ninth, you get them struck out. Score still tied. Who is the batter from your lifetime that you would send up to hit the game-winning home run? That's not named Barry Bonds. Go ahead and say Carlos Beltran.
No. Man, let's see. Golly. You know what? I'm gonna keep it let my fandom get in the way for a little bit. I will go. Man, I'm trying to think. Keeping it Rangers, because I can't decide between Nelson Cruz and Josh Hamilton. One of those two. I'm gonna go with Josh Hamilton.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I'm going
to
go with.
So I'm gonna hit you with a little bit of the Mace Harlem World album skit. You know, my kids watch your IG page. They like you. They love the movement that you're doing and everything, brother. But you're full of positivity. But in that tiny sliver somewhere within your being, who are on the Mount Rushmore, the 4 players in your baseball fandom who, in the words of Tommy Lasorda, I hope they don't die, but I wouldn't care if they got hit by a bus.
First on that list is Madison Bumgarner. Fuck him. I can't stand that ornery bastard.
You know Madison, who I thought you was gonna say first?
Who's that?
David Freese.
He's number 2. No, he's number 2. Alan Craig is he's 2. Freeze is 2A. Alan Craig is 2B.
Got it.
Man, who else? Kurt Schilling.
Got a funny Kurt Schilling story.
Slicing that bloody sock.
Bro, so I'm living in DC, working at the Pentagon in 20. Oh man, what year did the Ravens win the Super Bowl? Was that 2015, 2016? The year they beat Cap in the 49ers. So I usually work the afternoon shift, so I come in around like 12:30. So I get there, and like at the time, General Martin Dempsey was the Joint Chief of Staff. So anytime we would come into work, like one day I'm in my cubicle and I look up, I'm like, oh snap, that's Angelina Jolie. I'm like, damn, she's tiny. Get right back to work. Or Matthew Stafford would be in there, or London Fletcher, or the funniest one was Coach K.
Really?
Yeah, because Coach K was point guy. So like he
Makes
really
sense.
like, yeah. Matter of fact, I take that back. Jim Harbaugh was the funniest one. So seeing Jim Harbaugh in there. So I come into work and like this really weirdo guy who like wrote books about baseball, got them published, worked for I want to say he used to work for the it's one of these like big like world banking organizations, and he quit all of that to come work at the Pentagon. So he runs past me, bumps me, he's like, Peyton Manning's here. I'm like, what? So I got on a Baltimore Ravens like NFL title shirt. And so I walked to my man's office that's right across from like the chairman. And as soon as I go in, I hit somebody with the door, square in the middle of their head. I'm like, oh shit, my bad, man. And then I look up, and who is it with a big ass beer gut and smelling like skull, like 3-week-old skull juice that was in a water bottle out in the heat? Kurt Schilling. And once I saw it was him, yeah. Wow. So, and once I saw it was him, I was like, oh, I meant to do that shit.
Yeah, I retract my apology.
Right. So yeah, so that was my Kurt Schilling story.
Dope.
Let me see. What was the other one? So all right. So with vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
So you you say you just started your collection, right?
Yeah.
So if you anything like me, like I had like a list of like 25 albums. I'm like, yo, I want original first pressing or second press of these albums. I get these albums. I'll get every album that I want before I complete this 25. But once I get this set of 25, I'm done. But these five here, I have to have. What five albums would you want in your vinyl collection and be like, you know what? The cipher's complete right here.
Man, I never thought about that.
So so I let me see if I can because I got my vinyl right here. So
Okay.
like the first one for me was Miles Davis in a Silent Way. Like I love this album. This is the greatest Miles Davis album of all time to me. Like I love this joint. Um, I got a early '70s release Black Label of A Love Supreme by John Coltrane.
Oh man, that's one of them.
So I had to get that joint. Let me see what else I got here. Yeah, man, I love vinyl. And just for sentimental press, I got this original pressing of Quincy Jones. You Got It Bad, Girl, with the Sanford and Son
Yes. My dad had the OG vinyl. He gave that to me.
That's what's up, man. Let me see if I can find it. Hopefully, I got it here. I ended up buying like a reprint, a reissue, like early 2000 reissue. But I ended up like I was living in Huntsville, Alabama. So I was like, you know what? Flat shows is like right down the road. I was like, yo, let me go check out what's the name. So I went, got the tour like all the famous studios there because there's two of them. Went there, got what's the name, got the tours and everything. And I was like, oh, while I'm here, I might as well just check out a vinyl shop. So I walk into a vinyl shop and I look and I'm like, I know that's not what I. It was like Big Boy on ATL. I know that ain't
Yeah.
what I think it is. I was like, damn. And I think I got it in another bin, but it was an original pressing of Donny Hathaway's live album at the Troubadour.
Shitting me.
Yep. So I paid for this reissue $70. How much did I pay for this original pressing at a rando record store in Flat Shoals, Alabama, Muscle Shoals, Alabama? $3.
Show's over. Dude, $3
$3
for OG pressing.
for an OG press. The guy didn't even know what he had because he was like, yeah, I got like an entire like storage facility, not just like a storage trailer. The entire facility. He's like, I got records I haven't even seen since I bought them. He's like, I just pull
Wow.
them out when he's like, I keep them cataloging when people want something. I just go in the database. If I got it, cool. He's like, but I'm always adding too.
That is
I'm like, all right,
wild.
cool. So yeah, so I wish I would have checked out a couple of places when I was in Charleston, but I got like this. It's now I've now reached that age now where when I go somewhere, like I have to check out the record store. Like if it doesn't have a if it's a record store within like an hour's drive of there, like I'm there. So like what's my Sig's Lagoon in Houston, Texas, bar none one of the better like record stores that you can go to. Forever Young in Grand Prairie, right down the road from Globe Life. If you can't find it at Forever Young, they never made that album because that place is that huge.
Wow.
So yeah, so you got that joint. It used to be one that I used to hit up in Austin. That is the one where Questlove always hits up. It's basically the one where Questlove, Q-Tip, Kanye, when they would come to Austin, they were always like they had that guy be like, yeah, I got your record, and you can come pick it up, blah blah blah. So like you got that joint. It's a nice one out here in Lawrence, and they can pretty much get you anything. Like they got really like obscure stuff because you know what I mean. It's a college town,
Yeah.
so like yeah, like these old professors and like they get rid of stuff all the time. So like yeah, so like what did I get in there? Like I think I got I've been like real heavy on like getting newer stuff. So like Anderson .Paak, um, a bunch of Lupe stuff. Um, yeah, I got Kendrick's last album there. So, but yeah, like I'm really heavy into like this vinyl collection. But it's not one of those things where I'm like I actively seek out like, oh, I'm gonna get this, and this. If it catches my eye, then boom, I'm on it. So,
I'm the
and then
same
it
way.
helps also. Then it also helps when I'm going through like phases. So like now I'm going through a cameo phase. Like I can't explain. Like I'm going through this cameo phase. Before that, I was going through a Isaac Hayes phase, or a Curtis Mayfield phase, or Herbie Hancock phase. I see you had you was playing my man like 2 days ago, Ahmad Jamal. I
Yeah.
saw I saw Ahmad Jamal perform in 2019 in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best concerts I ever been to. Yeah, I think he was 89 and 90 at the time, real
Yeah.
spry, sprinting all over the stage, whole nine.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Cameo too, because I'm going up to Columbia on Saturday, and this is one of my favorite record stores up there. It's called Papa Jazz Record Shop. So I'm definitely going to go see if I can come up on some Cameo.
But
I need to get me some more Lattimore too.
I really ain't got on the Lattimore real heavy. Like I say, like I went through like a jazz, like I would go through like a real hard like jazz phase. Um, I went through my Earth, Wind, and Fire phase. That Isley Brothers phase was costly. Woo! Like damn, these brothers dropped the album like every year in the 70s and 80s. Like damn. So like them joints, it's certain like Miles Davis albums that I wanted. Like I got the Jack Johnson soundtrack. I got a second pressing of that. Never, but I'm a weird Miles fan. Never listened to Bitches Brew a day in my life
I haven't either.
because the way people explain it to me is like, yeah, like you got to. It's one of those things like, are you listening to Jimmy or are you hearing Jimmy? So it's like one of those things, and that's why I think like in a silent way is a perfect blend of what Bitches Brew became and everything after it. Because I mean, you had Chick Corea, you basically had the second grade quartet in there, and then that's when he started throwing in the electric guitar and all this other stuff that became Bitches Brew. Like it's basically like case in point. Everybody thinks that Doggy Style is just an offspring of the Chronic, when Niggas for Life is literally the blueprint for the Chronic from NWA. Like Dre was like seriously in his bag when he made that album, and
Mm-hmm.
that basically became like the prototype. Like, all right, so this is how we gonna infuse P Funk and make this thing called G Funk. So yeah, so that's my thing.
Dope, man. I love when we go left field and we get into talking about other stuff that we're passionate about, man. I dig that.
Right.
And I appreciate you for bringing up vinyl and then bringing Cameo up. I'm like, yeah, I don't have any Cameo records. I need to fix that. So, man, any last words?
Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's really cool to see like brothers coming on here and talk about their love of baseball, considering that the numbers are like drastically going down. So like, I've anybody who's like lending their ears to this podcast, like, yo, if you got like a MLB RBI program in your community, go out and support it, man. Like, we need African American baseball players. Like, it's too much of a lineage for us to just let it go by the wayside and just forget it.
Yeah.
It'll become like we talking about violence. It'll become like rock and roll to black people if we don't have black baseball players. Like, we it's funny now that our numbers are dwindling in the sport, people are embracing the bat flip and all this showboating stuff that I mean that would get you sat on the bench depending on who your coach is, or have McCann and the Braves try to gatekeep
Oh boy.
in the
That guy.
2000s. Yeah. So yeah, so that's one reason I refuse to root for the Braves. Like I'm like, y'all only pulled us against Latin players, dog. Like y'all not doing this. Nobody else who you would think. I'm like, plus the unwritten rules are so subjective. Like who you want to enforce them against. I'm like, that's corny. I'm like, man, just have fun.
Yeah.
So like shout out to like Bryce Harper. Like Bryce know what the game, he know what the deal is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, like this is just a game, man. Like have fun doing it.
Completely agree. Man, Abstract, man. Once again, I cannot thank you enough for being on here, man. I had a super good time chopping it up with you, man.
Anytime, man. Matter of fact, I got an idea. Maybe we should do a vinyl podcast.
That is not a bad idea.
Yep.
Man, I'll definitely keep that in mind. So if those of y'all are listening, I appreciate your ears. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. You can find it on all streaming platforms and also the video available on YouTube. KU.
Yes, sir.
And for the Abstract and myself, this has been another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.